the cold and some other activities. I also want to introduce my student, Ebony White, who is a early childhood special education major at Fort Valley State. She is a member of the Joseph Atkins Players Student Drama Group, for which I'm also the faculty advisor. And so Ebony is one of our featured actresses. And she actually will be starring in an upcoming production or performance that we're doing that's related to this talk. We will be staging this play that I'm going to talk about tonight on March the 3rd through the 5th. So I want to invite you all to come out. It will be on Fort Valley's campus. And so that's why I have the sign-in sheet with your asking for your email addresses so we can send you the information. This year, I have staged this play, part of the play, in 2012. This year, I have special permission to stage it from the author. I adapted the play from a novel, and I have special permission from her estate to stage it. So this play could go out of existence. So this, might be your only opportunity to see this play. So I invite you all to come. I encourage you to come. And like I said, the paper that I'm doing promotes the play a little bit. Okay. So I said a lot. So I'll be sure to tell you again about the play before I finish. Okay. So this paper is an outgrowth of an adaptation that I created as part of my PhD program at the University of Texas. What I did was I adapted a novel to stage that depicts a lynching. And so this paper, analyzes that work. I've written, I hope it will be an article soon, and so I'm still developing it. I have divided the paper into 4 parts. The first is called Staging a Lynching, where I give kind of just the details that go into the production. The second is called The Significance of Willow Scott, a Black feminist narrator character. The third part is called Mirroring Lily, Black and White Women Fight Against Lynching. And the final part is called Lynching Drama as Experimental Theater. Okay? And so again, the paper is called Re-examining Performances of Race and Gender in Lynching Plays. So first, staging a lynching. Saving Whiteface, a lynching drama adapted by this writer from B.B. Moore Campbell's novel, Your Blues Ain't Like Mine, which was published in 1992, and Gwendolyn Brooks's 1956 poem, A Bronzeville Mother Loiters in Mississippi. Meanwhile, a Mississippi mother burns bacon, was partially restaged on April 12, 2012, some 11 years after its debut. Saving Whiteface was staged in the Pettigrew Auditorium at Fort Valley State University in Fort Valley, Georgia, as a performance-based component of the university's 2nd annual Research Day event. On the day prior to its restaging, and a full 44 days after the February 26, 2012 incident, George Zimmerman, a self-proclaimed neighborhood watchman, was arrested and charged with second-degree murder for killing Trayvon Martin. Martin was an unarmed 17-year-old Miami, Florida native who was shot to death while visiting his father in a Sanford, Florida condominium complex where Zimmerman also resided. Zimmerman's eventual arrest resulted from the efforts of Trayvon Martin's parents and their lawyers, who used various media outlets to generate an international outcry against the Sanford Police Department's lack of action. The outrage reached a boiling point on March 17, 2012, when 9/11 calls that were made by residents who heard screaming outside of their windows were released. Although the original production stayed true to the novel's fictionalization of Emmett Till's 1955 lynching, in its 2012 iteration, Saving Whiteface was updated to include the details of Martin's murder. One of the 911 calls in which Trayvon Martin can allegedly be heard screaming, begging for his life before it is taken by a single gunshot was integrated into the play. The sound clip played while a white male protagonist, Floyd Cox, exits the stage to murder the young black boy, Armstrong Todd, who is rumored to have had a run-in with Cox's wife, Lily. When used in this way, the audio clip serves as a, quote, sonic intervention that counters Zimmerman's version of what I'm calling the lynching story, upon which this social drama is based. So like Ida B. Wells' anti-lynching journalism, lynching plays, which are defined as plays in which the threat of an occurrence of a lynching, past or present, has major impact on the dramatic action. This work seeks to interrogate the lynching story, and the lynching story that is usually used to justify the lynchings themselves. So the lynching story I define as a hegemonic discursive device in which, quote unquote, a fragile, innocent white woman needs to be saved by a gallant white hero from a villainous black man. This story's historical means of transmission has been, orally. It has been through ballads, by newspapers, on stage, and on film. So when I first staged Saving Whiteface, my production goal was to use chamber theater technique to examine lynching as an everyday whiteness performance practice. And in B.B. Moore Campbell's novel, she actually depicts events that just precede the fictionalization of Emmett Till's lynching, as well as for 30 years afterwards. She depicts the effects of the lynching on both the black family and the white family for 30 years afterward. So, her novel, it's a New York Times best mentioned and such. It's very well reviewed. But Saving Whiteface focuses only on the white lynchers, the Cox family, just before and after the lynching. And the stage drama unfolds around Lily Cox, the white high school dropout, who, while innocently satisfying a curiosity, sneaks into a juke joint that her husband Floyd owns, and that's patronized by laboring black men, to overhear a young black boy speaking French. Her husband, Floyd, finds out about her visit to the establishment, and when he does, he smacks her. He violently smacks her across the face, and he admonishes her not to go near the juke joint again, nor to let their family know that this happened, because he tells her, you know how daddy and them are. And so, but despite Floyd's admonition, Floyd's father does find out about the incident, and he pressures Floyd to handle it like quote unquote, like you were one of us, right? So Floyd, his father, and his brother, who constitute a lynch mob, they kill the boy. And the lynching does receive national attention, but it's only after Clayton Pinochet, who's a liberal-minded son of the town's wealthiest family, he secretly calls a friend of his and a fellow journalist to cover the story for a New York newspaper. So Willow Scott is the narrator of the story, and she's a African-American woman who owns her own restaurant. So she, and that's a detail that I'll return to, because that's very important, the way she functions in the story. So in crafting and staging this play, I examined the details of Martin's lynching, as well as that of others that have occurred since Emmett Till's 1955 lynching, including Rodney King's. This examination is not only conducted through audio clips, but through visual references as well. These references include a widely publicized picture of a smiling Trayvon Martin, as well as an infamous photo of Emmett Till's mutilated remains lying in his open casket per his mother's request. And I also incorporate video footage of Rodney King's 1991 beating. That's all that I put into it in this iteration. But by incorporating these audio-visual references from the not-so-distant past, Saving Whiteface depicts these murders using a theory of Nietzsche's called monumental time. And in this theory, time is refigured as all-encompassing an undelineated field of temporality. So time is not represented linearly, but as, quote, circular, repetitive, and cumulative. So with respect to each lynching, whether it occurs in 1912 or 2012, they all represent one another. And so Saving Whiteface ties Trayvon Martin's lynching to Emmett Till's, as well as those that have come before and after it. And so with that, I want to move on to the significance of Willow Scott as the narrator character. So according to Robert Greene, who's a legendary chamber theater professor, life must be shaped and reshaped before meaning can be clearly apprehended. Saving Whiteface represents movement towards understanding the meaning of lynching. B.B. Moore Campbell echoes this sentiment through her remarks that when she wrote Saving Whiteface in 1992, that she was, quote, creating something similar to the historical event, and then really exploring my premise that racism is a crime for which we all pay, not just the victims, but the perpetrators as well. In effect, Campbell's novel and Brooks's poem respectively first reshaped the events around Emmett Till's lynching, and then Saving Whiteface reshapes it again. And in reshaping Emmett Till's murder in this way, we can clearly comprehend the meaning of these events. Okay? So on stage, Willow Scott is the character that represents these black authors, including myself, as well as the anti-lynching tradition as Saving Whiteface's only African-American character. She also represents the black feminist anti-lynching tradition, the activism tradition, that I'll talk about in a moment also. So Saving Whiteface is staged in a stylized manner that complements the chamber theater technique that's used to adapt it. The stage is split into two realms that include a domestic space that serves as a kitchen restaurant area, as well as a workspace that converts from a pool hall into a newspaper office. And the scenes are blocked so that Willow Scott can easily move between both realms as she performs as narrator character, doubling both as a narrator as well as the drama's two white male patriarchs. In order to make her double performance clear, Willow Scott dons a white Lone Ranger style mask when she performs as a white man. So if you guys come see the play, you'll see this, right? And so staging Willow Scott in this way provides a basis for a complex dynamics of chamber theater staging. Since as narrator character, Willow alternates between the time and place of the audience and that of the characters on stage. So even further, Willow Scott opens the play by directly addressing the audience, which not only creates mise-en-scène, but reminds the audience that they too are tied to the social drama.
This is just outrageous. Goodness, just killing innocent black boys like that. Whoever said they could do that? Stupid fly. I'm gonna kill you, fly. Just wait till I catch you. I'm gonna kill you. This one did it. Yeah. I'm gonna get you now. Where'd you go? This just won't work either. I told that fly your day is coming. Yes, sir. Don't you think your day ain't coming either.
Willow Scott's role proves pivotal in many ways. Unlike offstage, where black women's anti-lynching activism has been feminized and overshadowed, Willow Scott's dual role as narrator character effectively marks African-American women's tradition of anti-lynching and rape activism. And specifically, I'm thinking of, and I'm speaking about the work of Ida B. Wells Barnett, who published Southern Horrors, Lynch Law in All Its Phases in 1892, as well as The Red Record in 1895. But I'm also speaking of a group that was established by the NAACP in 1922, called the Anti-Lynch Crusaders, and this was another group of black women who fought against lynching. And then, but additionally, through Willa Scott's character,